As if it couldn't achieve higher levels of success, Game Science Black Myth Wukong has sold 18 million copies within 2 weeks of launch. It's an incredible milestone, but the journey isn't over yet, as an expansion is confirmed to be in the works. What could it offer, when it launches, etc., that's all unknown, and it could be a while before any information is available. That won't stop us from wishing for certain things and hoping they come true. Here are 15 things we'd like to see from Black Myth Wukong's first expansion. Map. Will it be added in a post-launch update at some point? Probably. If it doesn't, the topmost feature that should arrive with the expansion is an in-game map. Make it available to all players and encompass the base game alongside whatever new areas are added in the expansion. Something, anything, even a physical map that the protagonist has to take out every time and manually mark waypoints with a pen would be ideal. Let us navigate Black Myth Wukong's world more intuitively, especially when revisiting old locations or investigating potential secrets. Quest Tracker. Outside of the boss fights, there are many quests to complete. Having a tracker to note the next step would be great. That doesn't mean having a waypoint system constantly pointing towards the next objective. Keeping the discovery element alive while making it easier to know what's pending, making it easier to backtrack and mop up before progressing the story. Loadouts. With all the different armor sets, spirit skills, and transformations in the game, it's surprising that there's no option to create loadouts. If a certain combination isn't working against the boss or you want to switch things up, being able to save those into builds that can be swapped from shrines would be great. It would save time when swapping everything out, defeating a boss, and then swapping back to the usual setup, if nothing else. Transmog. One of the other bafflingly absent options is Transmog, or equipping the look of an armor set without messing with your stats or current build. It's another thing that Game Science could release in an update, especially given the demand and if it decides to release any non-pay-to-win cosmetics. If not, there's no better time than the expansion, especially since it'll likely have more armor sets to pursue. New spells. Not including transformations and spirit skills, Wukong offers 8 spells, each with its upgrades, but since this is an expansion, it only makes sense to want more. What should be added is anyone's guess, given how much there already is, but some more range options would be ideal. Given his abilities, manipulating the weather, summoning dragons and spirits, and much more are potentially on the table, alongside a few new upgrades for the current spells to keep them competitive. New stances. Adding to that, a new stance or two would also be great. There could be a stance that enables Ruyi Jingu Bang to become much larger for much more devastating attacks with incredible range. Another could focus on innate parrying and counterattacking, perhaps at the cost of mobility and dodging. It's all about expanding on the player's choice while fulfilling the power fantasies associated with Wukong. Once again, getting some new upgrades and abilities for the current stances would also be appreciated. Parrying and blocking on specific weapons. Of course, another option is to add new staves with dedicated parrying and blocking systems. Not only could this feed into a potential new stance, but even potential new armor choices, with specific effects triggering based on successful parries. Whether Game Science would go down this route remains to be seen, but it would still open up extensive defense options. Boss Rush. Given all the boss rush analogies before launch, which turned out to be false, it seems only fitting that a mode for the same should arrive at some point. It could be separated into different tiers, with players fighting one after another, testing their mettle and going the distance. There could be customizable difficulties for those who want an additional challenge, or even the option to challenge any boss in any order. Boss Rematch. Alternatively, having the option to rematch against a single boss wouldn't be too shabby. Maybe a player enjoyed a particular fight and wants to re-experience or farm some XP and will, providing a legitimate method. Regardless, given how spectacular some of the fights are, it only makes sense to want to face them again. The Arena. If there's a hack and slash action RPG to be had, then an arena must follow, where you can take on waves after waves of enemies and see how long you can endure. Every 10 waves could throw in a unique boss with specific rewards, though there can also be a point system to redeem for materials, armor sets, and more. You could even add roguelite modifiers to spice things up between waves, like triggering certain buffs, mixing up enemy attacks, etc. Bigger zones to explore. We've seen the kinds of environments that game science has to offer, and while they start to expand after the first few chapters, the expansion could go even bigger. It doesn't need to adopt an open-world approach, just offering more intricate pathways and hidden areas, more complex puzzles, and a few more varied combat scenarios would go a long way towards making it a fresh experience over the base game. More intricate platforming. You can add platforming to that as well because there isn't much to speak of right now. It could even become an opportunity to expand on vertical exploration, with players having to jump, climb, and more to access certain places. Take a few cues from Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree's vertical design, though not that many because let's be real, and give players a chance to really dig through the world's secrets. More difficulties and challenge options. All this talk of additional challenges only reinforces that Black Myth Wukong needs more challenging difficulty options. The expansion could approach this with modifiers, allowing players to customize enemies and boss damage, add new moves for bosses, or add other debuffs like lower damage. It could also be something as simple as Sekiro's Demon Bell, which makes everything more challenging by default, and which can be disposed of if things get too intense. Wukong's Voice. If the expansion follows the true ending of the base game, it would make sense to have the protagonist fully voiced throughout. With how good the voice acting for Wukong is in the opening, it'd be a shame not to have that again. Imagine venturing through new zones or interacting with characters and hearing his quips. Less invisible walls. It's unlikely that game science will completely do away with the invisible walls. However, having fewer of them, especially if the expansion's environments could be more open, would be the right play. Even in the base game, where we know there isn't much to explore beyond specific points, it'd be nice to have more freedom when venturing through and not feel so constrained to the designated paths. Hey, did you know that we at GamingBolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.